this is pretty much how the trip is going so far. While on a drive from Colorado to Arizona, I looked up some of the ghost towns of New Mexico. The one I found to be the most interesting was a town called Dawson. Now, Dawson isn't much of a ghost town anymore. Dawson is more of a graveyard that used to be in a ghost town. The mining village ultimately claimed the lives of hundreds of miners from all over the world. This is what remains of Dawson, New Mexico. The land that would become Dawson started out as a cattle ranch before the land was sold to the Dawson Fuel Company in 1909. The land was found to be chock full of coal just ready to be mined. As word spread of this find, infrastructure was being constructed to make the most out of the material in the earth. The biggest boom for Dawson was the railroad connection from Tucumcari to Dawson. The mines in Dawson were doing so well that in just 4 years, 2,000 people had settled in the town. However, the boom was about to get even bigger when the Phelps Dodge Corporation bought the mines in Dawson. To help attract people to work the mines, the Phelps Dodge Corporation built housing for current and future workers, as well as a hospital, school, and several other luxury places like a movie theater, bowling alley, and even a golf course. The consistent work, as well as the amenities, allowed Dawson to keep a stable population despite being extremely isolated. Even in 2020, Dawson is in the middle of nowhere. Back then, it had to have been uncomfortably isolated. There was a massive immigrant population in Dawson, which I began to notice as I read the names on the tombstones. I tend to do very little research when I go to some of these places, so I don't go looking for anything specific. Later, when I do the research for these voiceovers, I see if I noticed anything that lines up with the information behind the place that I went to. A lot of the names that I saw on the tombstones sounded Greek, Italian, and possibly even from the Balkan regions. Maybe, it sounded very Slavic. There was a total of 10 mines in the surrounding area of Dawson that had an electric-powered set of rail cars that went from mine to mine, which was some pretty advanced tech for the time. It was a decent setup that was rather progressive as far as technology and quality of life for the employees, especially when compared to places like Ludlow, Colorado. Things started to go south, though, on October 22nd, 1913, when mine number 2 suffered a massive explosion when coal dust was accidentally ignited. The blast that occurred underground sent a shockwave that was felt up to 2 miles away. 263 miners were killed in this blast. This was a significant amount of the city's population. 146 of the men that died were from Italy, and 36 of them were from Greece. Ultimately, the cause of this explosion was found to be a violation of the mining safety laws. Despite the violation and tragedy, the Phelps Dodge Corporation was still going strong in Dawson. 10 years later, on February 8th, a mine car slipped off the tracks, clipped an electric cable, and sparks from that live wire hit more coal dust, and then BOOM! Mine number 1 had suffered its own massive blast, and 123 workers were killed in an instant. Sadly, this is a like father, like son situation, where many of the dead were the children of the men killed 10 years prior in mine number 2. Sadly, as is all too common, the deaths of almost 400 people wasn't the catalyst to close down the mines in Dawson, the city that sustained the mines. The downfall of Dawson was the decline in demand for the natural resources and the end of a 25-year contract that the Phelps Dodge Corporation had with the Southern Pacific Railroad in 1950. The town of Dawson was officially done. However, some of the last mining in the area didn't stop until the early 2000s. The only remnant of Dawson today is the graveyard, which is part of the National Register of Historic Places, in order to honor the men that died in the mine explosions. The white crosses that you see are made of iron and mark the graves of those who died in the mines, while the other grave markers are where the other Dawson residents were laid to rest. Looks like there's a lot of European names in here. Aside from, there's a lot of Spanish names, but it looks like there's also a lot of, well, maybe Slavic names. It's kind of weird. Thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully you found this as interesting as I did, and I'll catch you guys next time.